at Superbooth with Bastl from Bastl Instruments. Hi Bastl.
Hey DivKid, hey.
My poor accent, not doing me any favours. So you've got 3 new modules. People will have seen this at NAMM and Messe. Their most amazing booth. Do you want to guide us through what's going on and the new stuff?
Alright, yeah. Well, maybe I'll start at the mechanical part, because what I have here is this like robotic guitar setup. So maybe I'll make a quick pattern on the guitar and then I'll show you the new modules which actually process the sound of the guitar.
Yeah, great. We'll start there.
So if you look here are like the 2 solenoid modules, and they are controlled with these modules that actually translate the eurorack signals to the motor driving signals. All these like motor modules, they have the eurorack circuitry and the motor driving circuitry, which has independent power supply. And the circuitry is optically isolated, so you don't get any like bleed back from the... Exactly, yeah. That's very important for like working with motors. And on this sequencer, I can now sequence this motor. And this channel is doing gate for this pencil with the rubber, which basically changes the pitch of the string. And then I have a motor on another string, which I can sequence, and another gate channel for the other rubber. So this is
crazy.
Yeah. So this is how you can sequence a guitar with a module. Basically, it's 2 triggers and 2 gate signals. And next to this, I have like some funny stuff going on. Here is my snare drum.
Oh wow, the little box of nuts and bolts.
Yeah, exactly. And then I have this little cowbell thingy, which has a really natural swing, you know.
There's no avoiding the swing of the bottle.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. So basically, now the sound coming from the guitar comes to this modular system.
And these are the 3 new modules?
Yes, so basically the Hendrickson, Dynamo and Tromso are the new modules we just announced yesterday. Hendrickson basically takes the signal from the guitar, amplifies it to the module level. You have a like module level indication in here and the gain control. And then it has an output jack, again with a level control, and it indicates the guitar and line level. And then basically, so I'm using it first for amplifying the guitar, and the second one I'm using to interface the stomp boxes here.
So it has a send and return effect.
Exactly. So if I'll show it on the fuzz.
Intense.
So there is the dry wet control here, and the interesting thing about the dry wet is that you can CV control the dry wet, which is basically like one of the most important parameters you would like to see.
Yes,
control.
it makes like a CV-able mix of the pedals, which you're not going to get on the pedal.
Exactly, like for example with the fuzz thing, like if you just use it to process clean waveforms, it's an awesome wave shaper, like this one in particular.
Yeah, I use other modules as well, but that don't have the CV dry wet, but I definitely like interfacing pedals.
Yeah.
But it's manual mix usually, or no mix at all.
Exactly, yeah. So, and then I'm mostly using it for the reverb here. And yeah, I mean, like eurorack reverbs are quite expensive, or they're not like super awesome. So I really like this one reverb. So
and there's some really great, I'm definitely an advocate for using pedals. There's some really great pedals that are half the price of the modules.
Yeah, exactly. And they can be like lo-fi, like whatever. You can be like DIY, and this is like the way how you can interface with them and use them as whatever, wave shaper, effects, reverbs, and so on. So this is basically the trick of the module. Because the CV controlled crossfader between dry and wet is VCAs. If I would want to like make a tremolo effect on the guitar, I would use the same CV because it's amplifying the input signal.
Yeah,
also.
Yeah, don't use a wet signal, but just...
Yeah, so you can just use it as a VCA for the inputting signal.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah, so then next, what we have next is the Tromso module. And it is what I call a voltage control downsampler, and it's a completely analog circuit, but it implements this kind.
So that's like clocking a sample and hold unit at audio rate.
Exactly, but with a twist. It's a track and hold, and there is a pulse width modulation on the VCO. So you have the pulse width here, which is going into the track and hold, and basically by adjusting the pulse width, you can offset the dry wet amount of the downsampling effect. It's not really dry wet, but it sounds like it. So like intensity of the effect, and then the VCO basically sets the sample rate.
That adds another dimension for. I like using sample and hold at audio rate, but
yeah,
obviously you don't get the sense of the dry wet without the track and hold and the pulse width.
Exactly, and like I mean, this module, it has like these three utility modules. It's a triangle core VCO, a comparator which makes the pulse wave, and the sample and hold which can be switched to be track and hold with this switch. And the VCO has an FM input with attenuator, and when the attenuator is fully on, it's volt per octave. So basically you can do the downsampling effect which tracks with the pitch of your VCO.
And again, another trick, I don't often see people mention it, but that's a trick I really like, of find a rate of audio rate modulation that works for the input, and then split the volt per octave to my input and to the sample rate. It's nice to see it really easily implemented.
Yeah, it's really like it's a combination of three utility modules, but it can do so much. If you plug in like noise into the input of the sample and hold, you have like a colorful digital noise, and with the dry wet control, it's really interesting, and it can track with your oscillator. And yeah, basically, if you go to the LFO range on the VCO, you get really like good LFO with the sample and hold, so yeah.
Yeah, so you can create those custom stepped LFOs as well.
Yeah, and random series if you plug in noise to the sample and hold, so yeah.
So what's the third new module?
So it's called Dynamo, and basically it's again a combination of three utilities, which and how it's implemented, it has two main functions. So basically there is an envelope follower, which I'm now like driving the filter with. So it makes this kind of auto filter effect, this kind of funky sounding for the guitar. So it has an envelope follower input, which is malted. So you put it in and then you take it out and use the signal to be processed. So there is a little malt in here. There is an envelope follower output, inverted one. And then there is a comparator section which has a gate out, so you can set the threshold to extract gate from the envelope.
Yeah.
And then there is a compressor curve generator. So basically, if you take this CV and you plug it into the CV input of your VCA, you get a compressor. So let me tell you how it works. You set the threshold here, and once the loudness of the signal reaches the threshold, as on a compressor, it starts to generate a negative voltage on this output.
And starts to duck like a compressor will.
And yeah, exactly, and it ducks the VCA. But it doesn't have the amplification cell, and it doesn't have the VCA inside. So
you could get compressor style ducking on a filter or a wave folder.
Or like tube VCA or a vector VCA, whatever. Like it's just, it makes you the right CV curve.
Yeah, it gives you the ducking that a compressor would, and you apply that where you want.
Exactly, and what's really interesting is if you take the CV and you really pump up the attenuation on the VCA, the classic compressor curve, the maximum you can do is like the limiter.
Yeah, like a really hard knee limiting.
Yeah, but if you like pump up the attenuation on the VCA, it can go negative. Also, so you get only the silent sounds come through.
Oh wow!
So it's kind of like a negative
inverse,
compressor. Yeah.
almost like a take on an expander rather than a compressor as well.
Exactly, and that just depends on the attenuation on the VCA, or yeah.
Brilliant.
And then like the other catch of the Dynamo is the voltage controlled switch section. And it's implemented in a way that you can do what I call fake through zero modulation. So like if you have a VCO you want to modulate which is not through zero, then it ignores the negative part of the modulation curve, right?
Right.
So part of the envelope follower circuit is a full wave rectifier. So basically there is a full wave rectifier output, so you make sure the modulating signal goes never negative.
Yep.
And then with the comparator, you kind of set the threshold to sequence when it's negative.
Yep.
And then the comparator is switching the voltage controlled switch. And then you can decide what's happening in the negative range of the modulation with the switch.
Right.
So you can have like different waveform of the modulated VCO going there, or you can make like through zero modulation on a filter, or you can invert the phase. Basically, you can decide what's happening like in this like through zero modulation.
Yeah. So, well, it really is what you want it to be. Lots
Yes.
of utilities that
Exactly.
combine together.
Yeah. And the really interesting thing about this like fake through zero is the threshold of the comparator. It's like you can select the zero crossing point. And this is super interesting feature because like modulating this with CV gives you another dimension to the like deepness of the modulation.
Yeah, to modulate the modulator, to switch in something else.
So you can go completely bonkers with this. It's like this and 3 VCOs, and you have like completely bonkers like sonic worlds. Yeah.
Should we move over when?
Yeah.
So the last bit of the system is drums, sequencing sound sources. What's going on with this one?
Yeah, well, this is our like a flagship product. It's a complete modular case. It's called Rumburak, and besides it can make all the drum sounds you possibly want to do. It also has like a granular sampler, a CV sequencer with quantizer, VCAs, tons of modulation sources, so you can like do really complex voices. That's 2 filters.
So I've heard the T-kick and it sounded huge, but you were just saying that it's actually great at audio rate as well, which isn't the first thought when you think of a bass drum, but...
Let me show you. So I just take the trigger input, put it into the square wave.
Sounds great.
Yeah, for bass lines and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's use it as a kick drum again. It can also self-oscillate. There is the click control, and there is also like different inputs for the CV, so you can CV control the pitch of the drum. And then there is the WTF input, which I don't know what it does.
Something.
It's great. Like if you trigger it, it sounds different. So let me. So if I trigger the what the fuck input, it sounds different. And it's really good to combine these two.
Yeah, trigger from 2 different sources for different tones.
Yeah. So yeah.
Great. So thanks for running us down. Like I said, the craziest booth I've ever seen.
All right, thank you.